Hello and welcome to Beyond the Noise, the podcast series from PRWeek. I'm John Harrington, the editor of PRWeek UK. Today we're returning to the topic of PR recruitment, but this time from the point of view of job hunters. Joining me are Deekshima Khanna, who is about to complete an MA in Public Relations at the University of Salford in Manchester and is looking for her first job in PR in the UK. She previously worked in comms in India. Hi Deekshima, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Hi, Sean. Thank you so much for inviting me today for this. It's really good to be a part of this conversation.
Pleasure. Thanks for coming along. And we also have Patricia Mihail, who has worked both agency side and in-house in comms for 15 years and is looking for her next move. Hi, Patricia. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Good. I'm going to start with the first question, which is really tell me a little bit about yourselves, your sort of backgrounds in the industry, where you come from, what type of roles you're looking for in the sector, really. Patricia, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I am from Bucharest, Romania originally. I studied as a journalist first. And after a few years, I went to the dark side. And I was agency side in this really cool lifestyle consumer agency with big brands like Pandora, for example, and Cineworld. And after quite a few years there, I decided to change my life and build a career in London. So I moved here right before the pandemic. Perfect timing. I worked at Veolia, the recycling company first, in-house. And then I joined Gallium Ventures, a really cool tech global consultancy, working with really cool clients as well, like Flow Health and Chipolo.
Great. And what are you looking for now? What's your aim?
At the moment, I'm freelancing and I'm looking for great clients and any other agencies that are looking for freelance PR people who will support them. But also, if there is a right role coming along, in-house or agency side, I'm more than happy to take it on board.
Great. And Deekshima, what's your background and what type of roles have you done in the past and what are you looking for now?
So I moved from India to the UK to do a second master's in PR, which I'm now completing from the University of Salford in Greater Manchester. Between the first and second masters is all the experience that I have. I worked with Weber Shandwick and AV&V and have handled really known brands like Nestle, McDonald's, Popeyes, etc. It's a total of 8 years of experience that I hold in the global PR industry along with the double masters. And I also have a PR podcast of my own for students studying the subject.
Great. What type of positions are you looking for? I know you haven't quite finished your studies yet, but come September, what are your aims?
Well, I'm honestly looking to get my foot into the door right now at this moment. So anything from a mat cover role to contract roles. And of course, if I find a full-time permanent opportunity, it'll only be out of sheer luck.
Great. Well, good luck with that. So next question, really. It'd be good to talk about your kind of early days of job hunting that you've experienced in recent times. And also, how has your experience changed as time has gone on with looking for roles? Patricia, would you like to jump in?
Sure thing. Definitely when I moved to the UK, it was an interesting experience because I moved here with 10 years experience in the industry. However, I couldn't really get a senior role. And I had conversations with recruiters and they were saying, first of all, don't go after an agency role because they will not hire you. You don't have the market experience. You don't have the media relations here. So rather go for an in-house role, which actually turned out that was the case. And then the second role I got basically through word of mouth, the power of networking, which is not surprising because there have been studies, and not only in PR, that actually about 20% of the market is visible versus 80%, which is hidden. So everything you would get as a job role through networking and internal hires and all that.
Yeah, great. And Deekshima, what's been your sort of experience of the recruitment market recently?
So when I moved to the UK last year in September, I was initially looking for freelance and part-time roles. But now that since I'm almost completing my course and open to start from August, September this year, I'm actively seeking full-time opportunities.
Okay, so it'd be good to talk about what experience you've had so far of recruitment firms specifically. Are they people you've been in touch with? Have you found them particularly helpful? Or have you got any concerns perhaps about them? What do you think? Who'd like to talk about recruitment firms?
So yeah, it's been a mixed experience. I've had some brilliant recruitment firms guide me through the process and assist me understand what can and what might work in my favor. On the contrary, I've also been in touch with the ones who are very active on social media spaces, etc., but only sporadically respond to emails and applications. So it's been a very mixed experience that I've had till now.
Right, so some have just very much not been responsive. Are you surprised at at that response you've had from recruitment agencies?
I am actually, because it's been it's poles apart. There are some who literally sit down with me on Teams calls and give me the time and go through my resume and discuss with me what I can apply for and what experience I have, because I have a majority of global experience. While, yes, right now I'm working as a freelance PR strategist, freelance PR strategist. But then again, not every recruitment has the time and takes out the time to spend with you as a candidate and to invest in you. So, yeah, it's been very mixed.
Yeah. Interesting. Have you had a similar experience, Patricia?
I would like to confirm that, yes.
Yes.
It's a mixed bag. And I'm not surprised, to be fair, because I remember at some point I put together a list of about 30 recruiters and firms, and I reached out to all of them. And actually, I got about, I want to say, 50% response rate, which is quite huge, given the state of the market at the moment, given how much talent is on the market at all levels.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine, being empathetic with them as well. They receive so many emails and phone calls, and there's a lot going on right now. And there's a lot of, like I said, talent and amazing people on the market who are looking. I did appreciate the ones that took the time, like she was saying as well, to have a call, even if it was a short one, to understand a little bit about who I am beyond the CV, because a CV at the end of the day is just a piece of paper or an online document, but who I am actually as a person, so that then they can play proper matchmaking with a potential company or agency.
Yes. And what sort of timing was this? When did you contact all of those agencies? Was that quite recently?
Yes, it was about, I want to say 3 months ago. And then I've been keeping in touch with different recruiters at different times. And some of them were very helpful. Some of them were very honest, which I always appreciate, saying, for example, in February and March, the market is really, really slow. And then in May, it's picking up again, but it's still slow, giving me advice, giving me insights. It's been helpful, at least in terms of the ones who actually replied.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see there are some positives there, definitely. And how do you think this compares to if you've applied directly to agencies or other organisations?
Based on my experience, when applying to either agencies or organizations in general directly through their websites or LinkedIn, usually you get no response. This is my experience. I'm just one example. Hopefully it's not the case. But I do think it's, again, because of the high number of applicants that they don't even get the chance to look at the applications. I would appreciate, and there were a few who actually got back and said, no, not a good fit, or actually not right now, or whatever. Where I've seen there is improvement, and that's, again, the power of networking, is when I was actually at events and I've met people and I've networked, and then we, build a connection there, and then I send them my CV, and now they know about me and I know they know about me. So
Right.
There's already, it's not cold emailing or cold messaging or cold applying, if I may say that.
Yes. So there's an element of keeping your contacts warm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, at the end of the day, people hire people and people work with people. It's important to know a little bit about that person. It makes it easier. However, it doesn't mean that it's always like this. I've actually had an interview yesterday with a company, really cool company, small but growing. And I appreciate the fact that the founders took the time to respond to the application, to set up the interview, to have the chat, and just to touch base, really. So again, it's not only one way or the other.
Yes. And Deekshima, have you found a similar experience going directly to agencies or other organisations?
Well, yes, it's again been very mixed with both agencies and organizations. Although, yes, applying directly to companies helps speed us the process a bit, and sometimes they do come back to you. But having said that, I have now started visibly seeing rejection emails at really odd times, like early in the morning or weekends, and it's really odd. And on the other side, yes, applying through recruitment firms can also be very beneficial. Like I said, I have had chats with recruitment agencies who have sit down with me and tailored my profile and spent time on my profile and resume and CVs. So yeah, it's been very mixed there as well.
Yeah, interesting. And LinkedIn obviously has become a very important sort of tool for recruitment, as we all know. How have you found LinkedIn, Deekshima? Have you used it much?
I honestly swear by LinkedIn for my job search. There's a pool of rules posted on the platform, and it's really easy to apply. You can either apply through the LinkedIn Easy Apply, or it diverts you to the website where the application is. So I swear by LinkedIn.
Yeah. Do you swear by it too, Patricia?
I have a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn. And I've had this since I moved to the UK. Because when I came here about 6 years ago, I actually got my first job at Veolia through LinkedIn. So I applied, and then obviously there was a recruitment process. I had to do a presentation. There was a long interview and all that. But the foot in the door was through applying via LinkedIn. Now it feels as if there's so much noise on LinkedIn and everyone is posting left and right. And it also breaks my heart to see, again, how many people are looking at the moment. And not only PR professionals, journalists as well, because there are layoffs left and right. And I think it's very easy to go down a rabbit hole and to become very disheartened when you see that. Also, again, when you are applying to roles and you see, 400 people applied, 1,000 people applied, just even when you see a job posting, for example, from 12 hours ago, you look on it and say, 300 people applied already. Again, to my point previously, do people actually look at all those applications?
Yeah.
Do they at least look at them?
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to go, oh my God, what is wrong with me? I have experience. Like she was saying as well, we have global experience. Why? Well, that's why, because I don't think those applications are even being opened.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, I was interested, actually, going back to one of the points that you made, Deekshima, about the time of the day that you were getting responses. I mean, what do we put that down to? I mean, I hate to bring up AI, in every single podcast we do, although we will be talking about it later, no doubt. I mean, do you feel that this has maybe made the recruitment process a kind of less forgiving beast, if you like, that it's become more automated, it's become less about the human?
Well, honestly, I really like the phrase "less forgiving beast."
Yes.
Yeah, I just think it has its own pros and cons. AI has helped recruitment firms and recruiters, for that matter, to skim through the profiles quickly and understand the candidates quickly. But on the other side, I mean, it has its own pros and cons, like I said. If, as a candidate, if you use AI, you are under severe scrutiny. But on the other side, it's very helpful and it turns out to be a boon for recruiters. So, I mean, it's very mixed, it's very diverse, and it's very to each their own kind of use with AI.
Yeah. And actually, I was going to bring up AI in the context of what's happening in the recruitment market more generally. There was research in the last few days, actually, that was talking about the number of entry-level jobs generally falling by about a third since the launch of ChatGPT across different industries. And PRWeek is actually looking at the issue of whether AI is removing AE roles in PR or certainly changing them a lot. Is this something that you're concerned of when it comes to looking for job roles?
It is actually, and one of this entire topic is a part of our university's course as well, that AI is eating up our jobs. But then again, AI will give you a very standard response. Having said that, there always a need of human eyes to sit down and go through and just vet through the entire document or work that AI has given you, because sometimes a lot of these AI generated documents just don't make sense and just don't flow well. So, I mean, yeah, yes, it is making a couple of entry level roles redundant, but then again, there's nothing, I mean, there's no place that humans can ever be made redundant because of AI, because you will always need a human eye to understand what AI is saying.
Okay. What are your thoughts, Patricia, on that?
I believe it's just about adapting. I mean, as someone who in the last years has been mentoring and managing and training juniors from junior account exec level to account manager level, starting with the PR essentials, so media monitoring, how to build a media list, how to pitch media, how to draft content, and so on. And drawing from my experience, again, starting in PR and comms 15 years ago, it's normal. The industry has always changed. Back in the day, and I don't want to tell my age, but back in the day, when we were doing, for example, PR monitoring, we would actually look at print magazines. We would buy the print magazines from the newsstand and we would go through them, and then we would basically create a scrapbook. Of course, and now after a few years, we stopped doing that. And then online became stronger. And I think it's the same thing now. I understand why these titles appear a lot in the media. They're a bit clickbaity as well, I believe. This is my opinion. AI will take your job. I don't think AI will take our jobs. I just think we need to adapt. And it's not only the juniors, we need to adapt as well.
Yeah.
no matter what level of seniority you have. Because the whole point, the way I see it, is making our lives easier, especially nowadays where we live in literally 24/7 environments. And for example, for agencies that are maybe sector agnostic or which are covering multiple industries, normally a PR person should be able to stay on top of all these things, competitors and clients and the news cycle and all that. It's impossible. You can't process that kind of information as just one human being. But you can, hopefully, this is what I'm thinking at least, get AI to a stage where they can literally, get the data they need every morning, for example, while they sip their coffee, and then they're best positioned to advise their clients. But again, the strategy part, the creative part, the human aspect of it, that will not be changed.
So, both of you, as you mentioned, came to the UK from other countries. Do you think this has affected how you're perceived as candidates? Do you think you sometimes have been overlooked or underappreciated in some ways in the UK industry? Deekshima, what are your thoughts?
Yes, okay. So, yeah, I have observed that at least in most cases, we are less prioritized over other candidates because of the market specific experience. Employers usually tend to consider a specific market specific experience candidate over a global one, obviously because of the entire visa thing, which is also not tough to get, but just a little expensive. But I think if a candidate has invested in a new market through education and then graduate visa route, both of which are really costly, and if they perform well in a job, then sponsorship shouldn't be a challenge. It only just reflects how invested an employer can be in a candidate. And my larger thing is that if experienced candidates like myself, I can only speak for myself, if experienced candidates like myself are not the right fit for maybe an entry level role, but also may not fit well for a higher role, perhaps, then where do we fit in? I mean, if we have lack of UK market experience, we cannot be considered for higher roles. Because we have a separate market experience, we cannot be considered for entry level roles. Then where do we fit in?
Right. Well, yeah. Good questions. Patricia, what was you had a similar experience, would you say?
More or less. I mean, again, I can only speak from my experience. When I came here and I was applying to jobs, there was a lot of nothing. Again, I knew before I moved that this is going to be a situation because, again, I knew that I had the soft skills and the hard skills, but not the market experience, which is something you learn because anytime you develop, relationships with different clients in different industries and markets, you're going to have to learn the market. So that's fine, but it takes a bit of time. I wouldn't say necessarily I felt overlooked or underappreciated. Actually, when I was having the interview at Veolia, my then manager, the one who actually hired me, was looking at my CV and she said, "This is an entry-level position. Why are you applying to this? You are a senior." And I said, "Yes, but I have no experience here. I just need a chance to prove that I'm amazing and that I can grow very fast," which was actually the case. So something to keep in mind, you need to be very resilient and determined for this. It's not for everyone. It is difficult, especially when you are not operating in your native language, even if most of us have been learning English since we were probably like 5 or 6 years old. But at the same time, just playing devil's advocate for a second here, it's not the employer's problem. If you want to go for that role, put your best foot forward. However, they do need to give the right opportunities to the right people, because I've seen this firsthand at Gallium. When you have an actual multicultural, diverse team, in the true sense of the word, it does make a difference. You are more creative. People bring in different ideas and they make the work better. And you can connect to different types of clients and geographies better as well. So there's a lot of benefit in that.
Great. So I want to go on to talk about academic qualifications. Obviously, Deekshima, you're in the middle of academia yourself up in Salford. But in your experience, what value are recruiters or PR employers giving to academic qualifications, especially communications degrees at the moment, would you say?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword right now. On one side, there are universities wanting candidates to come overseas and study with them. And they sometimes, at least in my experience, they also pursue or request the candidate to work on projects which might help build the university's reputation in an international market. But on the other side, international candidates go out with these degrees, and I mean, they are not sometimes accepted very nicely, and they are actually the ones who are struggling the most for jobs because of the entire visa thing. And employers might often want to offer roles to someone with equal degrees, same level of degrees, but they are not international candidates.
Okay, interesting. Trisha, have you noticed
Well,
similarly? What was your academic
this is
qualification?
what I was thinking. I have a squiggly career, which a lot of PR people actually do, and you kind of fall into it often. I studied originally library sciences, library and information sciences, and then I did a master's in publishing and journalism, and then I was a cultural journalist, and then I went into consumer PR, and then I went corporate in-house, and then I went tech comms agency. So I think it depends a lot on who you are and what you want to do as an individual, where your passions lie, where your strengths lie as well. I do think university is important and it can give you a lot of foundation. I felt that for me. I did have public relations and communications classes, then part of that as well, but I didn't study PR and comms. So I don't think you need to study PR and comms to become a PR and comms professional. At the same time, for those who actually want to pursue this from the beginning and they do go to university to study PR and comms, I think it's amazing. And yeah, let's get them on board.
Interesting. What proportion of, let's say, recruiters would you say actively look for some kind of PR or comms qualification from the people you've been speaking to over the years? I mean, I guess it's different if you've already been in the industry for a bit.
Well, this is the thing. From my experience, I did not have that at all. And also when we were interviewing people for different roles at Gallium, we had both candidates who were studying or were finishing or have finished studying in this industry or now. So I think as long as you find the right person and they're willing to learn and they're willing to absorb information, it's fair game for everyone.
So I'm going to move on to, well, actually back to the topic of diversity and inclusion. We spoke a little bit about it earlier on. I mean, generally, do you think recruiters and employers are handling DEI as well as it should when it comes to, looking for candidates?
I think that's a very broad question for just two people who are working in the industry.
From your experience?
I think some companies are doing it better than others, for sure. I have seen that smaller companies and agencies seem to be doing better. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Obviously, there are bigger ones who should be doing things and leading charge and all that. Some of them do, some of them don't. It's a tricky question.
Yeah, fair enough. Deekshima, do you have particular thoughts on this, how DEI has been handled by recruiters and employers?
Well, yes, and it's completely out of my experience right now in job hunting that I have seen a lot of brands and a lot of companies wanting to drive global narratives and creating campaigns with international engagement and reaching beyond borders, etc. But it's very different when it comes to accepting diverse talents and understanding the difference of a different market experience. It's like you want to build a larger than life campaign that reaches an international audience, but we also need you to have market specific experience. My thing here is that someone with a market specific experience would not understand the dynamics or sensitivities of an overseas market which they haven't traveled or worked in. But a globally experienced candidate would easily understand a diverse and new market because they belong from one of them and they are working or will be working in the other.
Interesting. No, fair point, Patricia.
Just one thing I would add to that 100%. And also, I would say it's not even only about the professional experience, just a life experience. It's important to have that. And when you're building a team, it will bring you more value.
Yeah, I guess that's the danger, isn't it? And it alludes to the point you made earlier on that in the kind of digital age of recruitment, and particularly with AI, that a lot of these kind of, nuances and life experience and all of that sort of thing can sometimes be lost, perhaps.
Yeah.
That's the danger.
Yeah. Including, and especially when you're working with international clients. There's, for example, one way you're going to communicate with someone from France or the UK or Germany, and another way you're going to communicate with someone from Japan. It's just about those cultural differences that are important to keep in mind, all the more so in an industry that is focused on communication.
I'm going to move on to a problem that we hear about quite a lot in this industry in various different contexts. But in terms of recruitment, ghosting. Have you experienced much of this? Well, I guess we spoke about it in a way a little bit earlier on, but how bad is the problem of ghosting, do you think?
It's basically nowadays, the way I see it, it's like dating. it resembles dating a whole lot in terms of maybe you meet someone, you kind of like them, they like you, and then nothing. Or they ghost you from the beginning.
Right.
Or, for example, just to use this example moving forward, let's say you do get a job and you are in the probation period and you realize, oh, actually, we're not a good fit for each other. Because something I would like everyone to keep in mind, and by everyone, I mean especially candidates, when you are in your probation period, it's not only the employer evaluating you, you are doing it as well, or you should be doing it as well. It needs to be a good fit on both sides. And it's the same when you're having an interview. Are we a right fit for each other? Same as dating. And it's not fun. And there's been ghosting in terms of recruiters as well, which, again, I'm mindful of the fact that they are juggling multiple things at the same time. As someone who's worked agency side so long, I know it can be super tiring and sometimes you just don't get the chance to respond to everyone. But it doesn't look good and it doesn't sit well. And it's not very helpful. A no is an answer we can all use. Just give me a no.
Yeah.
Then I can move forward.
Fair enough.
Swipe left.
Yes, indeed. Deekshima, have you had sort of similar experience with ghosting from recruiters or other employers?
Yes, I mean, honestly, I completely agree with Patricia. It's very much like dating, and it is the fact that if you have written to me for a role or for an opportunity and you've requested my details, the least that I expect from you is to come back and share, even if it's a rejection, so that you close the loop and I don't have any expectations. But then again, I understand that recruiters are working with a zillion candidates for each role, and it's sometimes not practically possible. But yeah, you don't screen every candidate. You know which candidates you have reached out, and I think that's the least that a candidate expects when they share their profile and CVs, and when they work on cover letters and they send you everything tailored to the job description. I think the least they expect is a revert.
Yeah, fair enough. And are there any other poor practices you've experienced from recruiters or potential employers during the recruitment process, Deekshima, that you could
I think,
could let us
yeah,
know?
apart from ghosting, just one other thing that I've observed all these months till now is that there's a little gap that I see in retrofitting diverse talents and retrofitting diverse candidates in usually in PR roles that are titled as global PR manager or international communications director, international communications managers, etc. So it's mostly like you are an international candidate and the role is global and everything, but of course, then again, it comes down to market specific experience. And then retrofitting a diverse candidate or a diverse talent and helping them navigate the market becomes a little difficult.
Yeah, fair enough. And Patricia?
Not necessarily best practice, good practice, bad practice, but something I've seen both in terms of roles that were presented to me as in-house, but also agency. Basically, you either have a job description that encompasses 4 roles, which, wow,
Yeah,
that's no. Can we please stop doing that?
right.
A PR person is not a content marketer and a social media expert and influencer marketing person at the same level at the same time. Yes, you do need to know all these things to have a broader vision on things, but are you looking for a PR person? Are you looking for someone to build the PR strategy, or are you looking for a marketer to build your go-to-market strategy, for example? Or in an agency, again, I had at some point a role that was 2 pages long and there was long list of responsibility, long list. And I thought, wow, does this person sleep ever? Probably not. So that's something to keep in mind. Or something as well that I've encountered, roles that are trying to cast a wider net. So it's a bit like you can either be this or this or this or this. But then when you start talking to them, you realize you don't really know what you need for your company right now, or
Yeah.
that changes throughout the recruitment process based on the needs of the business and other things. And that's not cool.
No. Well, it sounds like a lot of the time the employer just genuinely doesn't necessarily know what they need.
Yeah. And I do understand this up to a point, especially when it comes to smaller companies, because everything moves so fast, so you have to adapt. However, keep a core person that you would want to have, and then add some extra bits and bobs around that. But yeah, you need to understand if you want someone who's at a certain level of seniority doing X, Y, and Z, or someone who's maybe more junior doing X, Y, and Z, for example.
Good. It's good to hear. I don't know if you saw this week that PRWeek published research suggesting that only 1 in 4 UK PR agencies publish salaries on their job ads. What do you think of this? Do you think salary details should always be included in job adverts, or can you understand why they're not?
I find that number outrageous. 1 in 4 is not okay. I do think at least a range, and for that range to not be, 10, 15, 20K apart.
Yes.
Maybe 5K. Yeah. I think it's important because it's a way to select both for the candidate and the potential employer. Say I see a job role and there's no salary put there, and then it's basically maybe half than what I'm looking for. And I know that this might sound like a stretch, but actually it's not in today's market, apparently. So I think it's important to have that transparency. All the more so when it comes to women in general and women in PR and the pay gap. Yes, I would like to know what the range is. I think that's important.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, quite.
What are you trying to hide?
Yeah. Do you feel the same, Deekshima?
Yes, actually, yes, I completely agree with Patricia. I think there should be a mention of salaries in the job adverts. It just makes it easier for the candidates to apply and understand how much financial bandwidth the company has to offer for that particular role.
Also, just one thing I would add. If you, for whatever reason, maybe there are some good reasons behind some of them not putting the salaries there, please don't put competitive. Because I can guarantee...
Would you rather have nothing than competitive?
Honestly, I can almost guarantee that competitive for an employer, it's usually not the same as competitive for a candidate.
How about depending on experience?
No, oh God, I don't even know which one is worse.
Have a think. I think competitive is worse.
I think competitive is worse, yeah. Because depending on experience, I do get it. Let's say you are 10 years in, but you've worked 5 years in another type of industry, and then you... Yeah, let's say, yeah, I could work with that. But competitive, no. That's...
Yeah, fair enough. And going back to sort of recruitment ads, and we talk sometimes about the soft benefits, don't we? The sort of gym membership, whatever it is, early finishing on a Friday, that sort of thing. How important are these to you when you're looking for jobs?
I think they are really important. Again, these are all ways to unwind yourself. Gym membership and early finish Fridays, all of this, they just give you more space for your weekend, more space to plan your weekend maybe, and then you just have your own time there. It's just really helpful to know these benefits that the company is offering, and just to have these by your side when you are working for an organization.
Are you the same, Patricia?
Yes and no. I think it depends a lot where you are in your life and your career at a certain time. In my situation, personally, it's not something that I put so much value on. For me, it's about the work culture, the type of work that I do, the people I do it with. That's important because you spend more time with those people than usually family and friends or yourself. The correct salary, being offered the right money for the type of role you do. And then for people who are growing and want to continue growing, having the opportunities to grow, having the right kind of training sessions or, programs. If you're a bit more senior and you want to go into leadership, I think that for me would be more important than, let's say, a gym membership that even for myself, when I bought myself one, I didn't really go to it that much.
Yeah.
But again, this it differs from person to person. And again, for me, it's more important to have the flexibility to make my own time up to a certain point, or to have more annual leave, for example, not have just a very limited amount of time. Because I'd rather work more for a month. Because obviously we work in PR. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It never was, and I don't think it will ever be. But I do need to unwind as well. So to be able to take that time off when I need it and to do whatever I want to recharge and reset.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's talk about advice. What would you say is the best piece of advice you've received or you've picked up on about finding, your ideal job in this industry?
I wouldn't say advice, just a thought to everyone looking for a job. Again, not only in PR, but journalists as well, friends. We feel you, we see you, hang in there. Don't spend too much time on LinkedIn. It can be very disheartening. And it can become this really horrible bubble where you think, oh my God, I'm never going to get a job. And try to network as much as possible and meet people and put yourself out there, which is, I'm saying this for myself as well, it's easier said than done, especially when you work in PR and you are used to being the person who puts other people forward, who promotes spokespeople, who promotes brands. It's more often than not, unfortunately, it becomes difficult for us to say, hey, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm looking for this. I'm amazing at this. All the more so when you are a woman. If you're ever looking for this, I'm the right person. Just keep in mind. Try to do that, I would say.
Okie doke. And final question then. What one thing would you change about the PR recruitment process, if you could?
The flow of it. There needs to be some sort of structure. It doesn't have to be very complicated. And it doesn't matter if it comes through a recruiter or if it's directly through an agency or a company. Make it clear from the beginning. I am looking for this kind of person, this kind of candidate. This is the job specification. This is the salary. This is what we offer. This is how the recruitment process is going to look like. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds of interviews, task-related things, activities, and so on. And then we are accepting applications until this date. The interviews will be conducted during these 2, 3, 4 weeks, months, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then everyone will have an answer by this date. Even if it's just a no. Ideally, especially if you've seen those people at interviews, ideally you'd offer some kind of feedback. Because otherwise, again, candidates will just sit in their heads thinking, oh God, what have I said? What have I done wrong? And maybe more often than not, you have done nothing wrong. It's just that someone else was maybe a bit more qualified or a bit more of a better fit. But basically, make the communication process good and structured. Also, speaking of best practice, just remember this now. I've seen from a couple of agencies via recruiters, they have very nice packages, like in a welcome pack for potential candidates already. Just a few, slides, a PDF, very clear about the company, about the process. I love that. And you can have that, as already formatted, and you can use that for whatever type of role you're interviewing, just changing the actual job specs.
Okay, sounds good. And Deekshima, what would you change about the process if you could? What one thing?
I'm sure there might be and there could be candidates who would match exactly the kind of requirements a job needs, but then those will only be a couple, a very handful, a very niche number. So maybe retrofitting a candidate or maybe putting forward somebody who has really strong academic qualifications, really strong experience in a separate market, and just putting the message forward that if they can break through and achieve so much in one country, they can surely make their way and they can surely prove themselves in a new country if they're given a chance.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for that. And that's all the time we have for this week. Thanks to Deekshima and to Patricia for your views and insights. And thanks to everyone for listening. I think it's a really fascinating podcast and I hope you've all learnt a lot. So until next time, goodbye.